Hello, everyone. Welcome to not need my glasses to see all of you today. Welcome to a little late a preview for tonight's AEW Winter is Coming special episode of Dynamite. We've got a lot of high profile matches going on. Obviously, main one being MJF taking on Ricky Starks in the main event, as was kind of convolutedly in the chat. I see a couple of you watching already. Thank you very much. But let me know because I'm still a little confused. Is this for the title and the diamond ring, or is that at a later date? I believe it's the former, not the latter. But please let me know in the comments if I have that even slightly incorrect. That this is for that. Um, Hassan, good to see you as always. It was a clean finish last week. Does that mean anything about the ring, or are you just stating that it was a clean finish? I just want to make sure I get your understanding there before moving on. So, but yeah, obviously other matches as I pull up here. I think I might even be able to share my screen. That'd be fun. I'll figure that out. That's a something for a later date as my computer wobbles around. But yeah, we've got Ruby Soho in action. We've got match 4 of Death Triangle and the Elite. We've got the House of Black in action. That's kind of the main graphic for the card there. So one would think that a lot of time given to the main event. Take all tonight. Okay, thank you, Hassan. I appreciate that. Take all. So we shall see. I think we all know and are just picking a winner here. But the promo last week at least sold the match better than I think has been done in the past here. But one would presume tonight with the number of matches, we'll get some stuff added as we always do. That's 4 matches booked with the Ruby Soho and Ty Mello match, the House of Black Open Challenge, the World Title, and the Trios title match or series match. You think there's going to be one more match added and then some other stuff to build as we go. We've got now essentially 3 months before the next pay-per-view in early March. So one would presume we're going to have at least 1 or 2 other major shows lined up. So yes, and as Brian, good to see you as always. Thank you for joining. And yes, safe bet that Mandy Rose will be in AEW in mid to late January. So depends. This has been reported. I know SRS reported she was released. I think he was first on that today. But since she was in NXT, is that a 30-day non-compete, or was her contract since she was on the main roster for a long time? Was that still a 90-day no compete? I'm curious on the answer there. If someone does know that, please let me know. I haven't delved that in deep into it. I just kind of came to my mind as you had that comment there, Brian. But yes, I think one would presume that is the case. 30 days. Okay. Thank you, Brian. So we'll see. I mean, Tony Khan's a little weird with on the women's side of the talent pool on bringing in kind of indiscriminately. And from that, I mean, from a cash perspective, right? Like if it seemed obviously when the spigot was wide open and WWE was releasing people, every male person that Tony Khan wanted to get his hands on seemed to be, the money was not an issue, but was a little more selective with the, with the women's side of that. And, again, I've levied this case a million times, but your new NXT world champion, Roxanne Perez, was available for him to sign and he didn't. So, does he value Mandy Rose? Is that worth it to him? I don't know. And is she now going to more rely on stuff she's doing outside of wrestling as an income if she didn't think the number is right? I don't know. So we'll see. But it's an interesting story to look into. And, obviously on the AEW side, definitely more, liberal, but I'm trying to think of a better word for that, on like what you can do outside of WWE, right? Whether it be an Adam Cole and how much money he makes on Twitch, or Mandy Rose and what she's doing with not OnlyFans, it's something else I saw in the report. But that sort of line of income, just like, when Tony Storm was first able to, and then did the OnlyFans and made a ton of money, right? So if you can do both, great. If not, whatever. But we'll see. And I wonder, I guess I should have expected the Mandy Rose stuff to come up today, but what level of star would she be in AEW? I think she would be, the Ruby Soho level-ish, but in between Ruby Soho and Tony Storm, I think is where she would ultimately align. Obviously not the worker that either of the two of them are for comparison, but yeah. So curious what you guys think about that and where she ends up, because it was definitely a shocker today to see that. So yeah, and then the big question is if Sasha shows up on January the 11th. I mean, if you see what Dave is reporting out there, and like anything, take it with a grain of salt, as we not that Dave is not right on a lot of things, but just saying, you how am I trying to say this? You can tell, I'll try and be open with you guys always on if I know something and like, hey, trust me, I know something about this versus, what I'm hearing or what I'm, you can tell when things are primary sourced, secondary sourced, and tertiary sourced. And the reporting felt a little tertiary sourced to me. So that's the only reason I would say, hey, look out for it. But, and yes, Tracy, I mean, I think the comment of the day so far, she had failed a drug test or had multiple drunk driving cases. I think she would still be employed, yes, as well. So I think put a pin in that for today. I'd love to talk with Zach about this tomorrow on Fireside Chat, but I think that obviously what happens tonight on Dynamite, as we will discuss, I promise, I know you're here, everybody, to talk about Dynamite, and we're talking about the Mandy Rose situation at the moment, but I think that should be a top line segment tomorrow on the double standard, as you just commented there, Tracy, about things like this, as Matt Riddle does fail another drug test. And, the Jeff Hardy stuff, he got out, how many he had in both companies and the Usos and all that stuff. So, and Matt Riddle might be gone too. So we'll see, but it's not the same thing, but you would think that it's, again, to be discussed. I think everyone has their own opinion on that. I'm not going to change your mind on what is and isn't good behavior for a public figure that these wrestlers are. But I think if you're going to have one standard, of whatever, well, I'll get into it, Zach. I think this is a better two-way conversation than me talking to a mic. But if you're going to fire someone for some photos, I think a drug test, drunk driving, are things that I would be more frowned upon than the former. But obviously, I think you guys know that. Listen to me. So let's talk some AEW. So let's go. Usually, I go like kind of least exciting to most exciting, but it's early in the show. Let's talk MJF, Ricky Starks for the world title and for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which is funny. You can't buy a replica of that. I think that'd be a fun thing, like the Bray Wyatt belt when that was first released. It was like $3,500 or whatever it was. Maybe it was like $1,200 to get the full leather replica. I think like a weird $3,000 cubic zirconium. So really, it costs like $100 to make Dynamite Diamond Ring. Someone would buy it, and I think that'd be interesting. I gotta pop that up, Brian. Yeah, my hair's just pushed back, but I appreciate the mullet look. That is I should next Halloween I should dress up as Joe Dirt for the show. I think that'd be very funny. So thank you. Let's talk the world championship match tonight. We've got MJF taking on Ricky Starks. MJF's first title defense since winning the world title and putting all the William Regal confusing stuff behind him. We had the promo last week between both him and Ricky Starks, MJF that is, and Ricky Starks, where MJF is, definitively the heel character. Ricky Starks is the super baby face. Obviously, Austin, his second home. They're in the Dallas area tonight. So I want to presume that the universal babyface pop and universal heel boo for MJF and Starks will continue, which is good. I've been down on fighting uphill with the MJF stuff, as my good friend Zach from Texas would let me know. I was wrong about Starks being cheered and MJF getting booed, but I'm glad it happened the way it did. If you can just kind of hit the reset button, which I think they did last week at the promo, move forward with MJF being a heel, and when cheats to win, he'll use the Dynamite diamond ring. Maybe the firm will come in and do all that stuff. I don't think that's not the most innovative booking idea that anyone's ever said here tonight, but to have a really long, good match that MJF then ruins by cheating at the end, I think is fine for this match. I do think the long term of his character arc as champion, he needs to figure another way to get that heel heat within the ring itself, within the match parameters. But if you see that tonight and then we build from there, he is going to lose and something happens and he screws over one of the hottest baby faces in the company. That's all a recipe for success. And I want to plug it here too. I'll be joining Wade Keller tonight on the post-match or the post-show podcast. So if you consume that, please join there. And you can give your comments, your questions about this big match tonight with Wade and myself. So let's get in the comments here because I have not been looking. So I know Hazan, you had this. Will this go an hour like last year? Last year being Page and Danielson, right? So I think both of them could. I don't know if I don't know. I think MJF definitely could. I think Starks could too. I just don't know if they can maintain momentum. For both of them have, and this is like not a negative in my mind, they both work a more WWE style, a more like, MJF more like that kind of old school 80s style, as we all know, where, there's not a ton of high spots, but the match builds and builds and builds, which, WWE has perfected over the years in big moments where that works, I think, best in an 18 to 25 minute type match format where you can build first 10 minutes, you're filling each other out. Then you have each person dominating for, the next 10-minute block. And then you're really back and forth, near falls, the last 5-6 minutes. And, if you have that story element come in, you do that, in that 6-minute period as well. A lot of ways, if any of you watch New Japan, how a lot of the high profile G1 matches, because those are a half-hour time limit, the way those are structured, obviously different in-ring styles, but same sort of way you book the match without the physicality, obviously being the misnomer there between those two. But so that's all to say, I think these two Starks and MJF can put on, a 4.5-star match, almost no problem if given the opportunity, and that's the goal of the match, which I think it is here, because I don't think you're going to set up Starks for a rematch. If he loses here, the only thing that I would do a rematch with him is if he's going to be the one to defeat MJF at one point, right? That's different than the Adam Cole taking on Adam Page 3 times, because he is a heel and he keeps finding ways to get title matches, right? If you're Starks, if you lose here, which I think we all presume is going to happen, then you don't have a rematch in 3 months where you're going to lose again, right? That kind of is not good for the character. So all that being said, Hassan, I think it would be ballsy, and I'm always for pro ballsy things in wrestling, that these two went an hour. We'll see when it starts. If it opens the show, obviously alarm bells ring that it's going to go a super long time. If it's the main event, then hey, it's going to be 20, 25 minutes. We'll see there. But I think it's possible, which is more than I would say for most, hey, is this going to go an hour draw sort of thing? But, that would then set up a match if they have a draw here to then have a match down the line. Do they then only have a match for the Dynamite Diamond ring? Do I personally care about that ring? No, I do not. But that might be why they're both on the line, and that can be confusing. Maybe MJF can keep it, etc. But I'm curious what you all think now that we have a pretty good, number of people watching live here. And if you're watching this after we were live, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and that bell notification so you get alerts when we go live. Myself and Zach Hadorn go live throughout the week to preview shows, and then we have our weekly news show or talking about the news, Fireside Chat, which you guys know. So I'm curious what you guys think. I think, if you think Ricky Starks wins here, please drop that in the chat. But besides that, like, how will MJF cheat to win? Will it be the ring in the shorts? I personally think that we've seen that so much that Starks will be a smart enough babyface to be able to thwart that decision. But then there's a secondary, sort of underhatedness that MJF does to get the win, whether it be a low blow, etc. But what do you think? Do you think the firm comes in and is the difference maker there? Winter's Coming has always kind of been known since Sting premiered 2 years ago for debuts of some sort. Is there anyone to debut? You can't debut Aldis yet. He's probably going to go Ring of Honor. So is there anyone open that can come in and be, the Diesel to MJF's HBK, right? I think MJF in this character role is going to want to do a lot of old school WWF stuff to tease that he wants to go there. He might even do some Triple H storylines to show that he loves Papa Trips or whatever he calls him. So, what do you think is going to happen in this? And yeah, I mean, that's why I just throwing out things here, Hassan, but you are correct. It seems like they are done, but who knows in the way the MJF character has kind of fluctuated. Maybe they do come out and help, because you think the low-hanging fruit of someone coming out to help him would be them, and that could set up maybe Ethan Page doesn't like that they helped him, and then that can be, but then that's confusing. So yeah, it doesn't really work any way you put it. But Brian, I like where you're headed here. Seeing pulling out the brass knuckles tonight would be get a lot of heat, I think, even though that was confusing with the, obviously my disdain for the Regal spot last week is known, but to leave a baby face and then, I guess he did get booed for stealing the babyface's gimmick on the way out, but I think keeping Regal in that heel roll on his way out would help to get MJF booed that he's stealing Regal's move there. But yeah, I mean, A Milano 20, thank you for joining us. Yeah, MJF will make a veiled WWE reference tonight. I think that's pretty obvious, and it's a big time world title match. Does MJF have anything with his entrance? Does he come out with a sledgehammer? Does he come out whatever? I think he's gonna do some WWE stuff for a long period of time. Hassan, I like where you're going here. Remember, it was LFI help him. That's interesting, especially your local LFI members in Roosh, especially who's there, would be interesting. Steven, good to see you popping in here. Big Cass is a great name, but Big Bill is not a great name. Sorry, I don't want to misquote you. Big Cass is not a great name, but Big Bill is even worse. Yes, Big Bill is a rough name. Seems like some tertiary character from Boogie Nights that people make fun of is what Big Bill sounds like to me. But so yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same page. I haven't seen a ton of dissenting opinions in the chat here about the main event, but yeah, MJF wins, and we'll see some underhandedness presumably. I guess I'm trying to go through the chat here, and I think Hassan, were you the only one that you said MJF needs a solid victory tonight? Do you think that's going to be clean? I wonder, or do you think just a dominant win where he does cheat to win, but he looks, a step above someone like Starks, who's kind of on that journey up as a babyface, as opposed to, Starks is kind of to get in the World Cup mode for everyone. He looks like England against France, where England looked like the better team, but France ends up winning. But yeah. Bright, yes, I saw you post this earlier. Thank you for reposting. The rating on this, I think, is interesting. I didn't look at what the NBA game tonight is on ESPN. I think it might be. I know my Cavs play at 9 against Dallas. That sounds like it could be a national game, but that's the only thing that's beat Dynamite the last couple of weeks in the ratings. But yeah, I think 900 would be ideal because someone can fact check me. I don't have the Show Buzz Daily. That's where we get all our good sourcing on ratings. But it was 870 last week, and then the week prior was 811. So 900 seems like reasonable growth to me. And if I'm Tony Khan, I'd be looking to be at least top 3 in the cable ratings. And yeah, above 900, even like a 915, 920, 925 would be kind of my goals. And anything above that would be fantastic. But that's what it was 840. Okay. So it was 840, and then I think 811 prior to that. So yeah, that would be great growth. Over 900, I think would be a win either way. But it would, kind of from a zoom, if you zoom out week over week, some of those kind of questionable decisions that have all, especially post Full Gear, that I've levied and a lot of people have levied, I think would show like that would be someone to me of like, hey, you might not love the product right now, but the rating's not going down very much. So kind of like that WWE losing 20% year over year, but it's kind of fine because of all the extenuating circumstances, et cetera. I think AEW kind of be in that trajectory for that debate if they can hit 900 or so. So, Zach, go up to Morrissey and tell him Big Bill's a bad name. I mean, I will. If he wants to hit me for that, then that's like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Not that I'm like super pro litigating against wrestlers, but if this is why I don't do a ton of interviews, because I'd be like, Big Bill, huh? I would ask it nicely, but I'd be like, who came up with the idea? Was it your idea? Is it, Wide Willie, Big Will, or Big Bill, Big Will, Big Willie style? Like none of that. I'd go through the list and be like, why did you sign on that? What's the creative process? And I would, backhandedly be like, that's a bad name. Why did it come up with that? So, Steven's going to be in America next week. He'll tell him. So are you going to be at an AEW show, or are you just in America broadly? Because, I mean, it's a wide swath of space to hope to walk into Big Bill there. So, yeah. So, and A. Milano again, Wet Will, Slick Willie, all that stuff is all better than Big Bill if you're going to be kind of a joke character. But yeah, so, or it could be a backstage nickname, as On says. So, so that's the main event. I think, the possibility of going first is intriguing to me, especially with the next match I want to talk about. But if I think it'll go on last is my official prediction. I think we get like a 20-minute match between these two with maybe 3 minutes of post-match shenanigans to, have MJF holding the Triple B and getting booed as, whatever, as confetti rains down on him for winning his world title back, I guess. And maybe he'll do the UFC thing. That's what I would do if I was a wrestling champion. In UFC, every time you fight for a belt. So if you defend the heavyweight title 8 times, technically you should have 8 belts, because every time there's a new belt that is made for that event. So if I was MJF, I'm only going to wrestle, defend the title 6-10 times a year. I'd get a new belt every time and walk around with all the times I've defended the belt. I think that'd be an interesting gimmick in the pro wrestling space to show that. So, but yeah, let's get to the match I think will open the show here, and that is match 4 of the best of 7 series between the Trios Champions Death Triangle and the Elite. Death Triangle's up 2-1, and this, I think, we're spaced out here now. A week in between the last matches. I think broadly, and we'll get into the details here, I think my personal take on this is that Death Triangle win. They go up 3-1. You can tell that whole sort of 3-1 narrative of, it's so hard to come back. They didn't do the contrived 3-0 down, and then the person that wins all 4 in a row. 3-1 is a little more grounded in a super underdog story in sports. The Elite are not the underdogs in any way, shape, or form, but I think they like to, in a babyface role, like to pin that on themselves to be that more, underdog role. And, some famous 3-1 comebacks in sports recently. You had the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back on the Golden State Warriors in 2016. And that same year, you had the Cleveland baseball team in the World Series up 3-1 on the Chicago Cubs, and the Cubs came back and won. So I think that some of those things will come into play in a 3-1 story is where they're going for. But let me look at you guys' comments because I was talking and not looking. No promos from the Elite last week. I mean, we haven't had a promo from them since they came back, right? So that's interesting. And then like the style of match, I think is something that's interesting. Like, the third match of this series, the Elite attack Death Triangle on the stage, and that was really the only difference between the previous two matches. They all been super high flying, but at some point, I think they should have maybe the last match is whatever. This would be a perfect time to do like, hey, we're going to start, we're going to tag, we're going to not have Rick Knox as a ref type match. We're going to hold the ropes. We're going to like prove that of these 7 matches, we can have a traditional trios match, and then we can have in the 7th one we can go kind of back to the first and second. I mean, all 3 have been really good. It's hard to differentiate them for me personally. So having some, this being a more grounded and traditional, FTR style tag match, I think would really benefit them. And the crowd should be pretty hot tonight for how big of a show it is. So that's what I would do. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're just going to kind of have the same sort of match and have a couple flourishes here and there that they can point to make it a little different. But yeah. Let me see what else you guys got here. Bring out one here. You feel like the TBS title should be discontinued and women's tag title substituted. I think the TBS title post Jade is in a dubious spot. So I think whenever she abdicates that or wins the world title and kind of blends that into it, which would be my preference, then you can I guess add a women's tag title. And I'm not opposed to women's tag titles per se. I think it'd be good, more so than even a secondary title for the women's division to give people, like the Bunny and Penelope Ford and Anna Jay and Ty Mello, who are never going to be world champions, but could go on a run and be tag team champions and give them something to do. You could fill shows like Rampage and Dynamite with things like that. So I think that's a positive in the aggregate, but too many belts. If you drop the All Atlantic and TBS belts and then add a women's tag, I'd be for that because you're losing 2 and adding 1. So we're making progress. But in general, I would get rid of the All Atlantic, the TBS title, and the Trios title, all before I add one more title, no matter what it is. And that's, not anything against women's wrestling. It's just too many titles. No one feels special in any way, shape, or form. Make sure an ROH title is never, ever again on AEW TV. And there's a lot to talk about there. That's a good fireside chat. So check that out tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Zach and I will be talking Mandy Rose situation and definitely Honor Club ROH because I have a lot to talk about that. So save that for then. But yeah, so back to the trios match. Yeah, like I said, that's what I think happens tonight. And I think it opens the show personally. I think we go, 20 minutes and make it a thing. And then you set up some promos here for Starks and for MJF to set up the main event in a big way. And we go from there. So the other matches that are billed tonight are, I'd say those are the 2 main events with a bullet, but we also have the House of Black returning and having an open challenge. So presumably a team of jobbers or relative jobbers, right? Whether that's some Dark Order cohort, if that is, Top Flight and AR Fox, which are, I would say, are above Dark Order and having a good match, setting up that. And whoever, obviously House of Black is waiting in line for the winner of the Best of 7 series, presumably the Elite, who will be baby faces. And you can have that feud, which feels like could be a pretty good feud, whether if it's for a winter is coming type episode of Dynamite in January, February, or uh, for the pay-per-view itself. I think more likely for that big branded show, you'd have that and you could build to a pay-per-view, but that feels like a worthy thing for the trios title, which my thoughts. I don't think it needs to be there, but at least that story would be good and it would give a reason for those teams to fight. So I think that's kind of the trajectory here tonight, is a lot of trios division stuff working out on top of the world title as well. So, but good to see them back. Hopefully that I hope that they are in extended action, not a 20-minute match, but it'd be good to see, some 5-6 minutes where, Buddy and Brody and Malachi all get some time to get some offense in. Julia Hart is able to, maybe not spit black in someone's face, but just, reestablish that group. And for presumably a slightly bigger audience than has been watching in recent weeks, to reestablish them as a major act in the company, I think would be good. So, and yes, Hazan here, House of Black and Eddie Kingston are going to feud soon. It looks like, yeah, I think that would be a good stopgap. Where December 14th, the best of 7 series not going to end until 27 days from now on January the 11th. So something to do for them, I think would be good. And as we get to the holiday editions, I mean, the holidays happening on Saturdays, I believe, helps the wrestling shows especially on Wednesday, to not feel like kind of throwaways of, if Christmas was on that Wednesday, it would definitely feel like a throwaway that no one's going to watch. And these feel more impactful with people at home looking for stuff to do. I think the rating should be relatively strong in relation to the time of year that it is. Steve's got his prediction here. I think he's aligned with me, 3-1. So you got Death Triangle winning tonight, then having the Elite winning, obviously, the next two to make it 3-3, and then winner take all on the 11th in the Forum. Yes, I mean, with the Mercedes Renato debut, as we all presume is happening at this point, and I'm more lean into that than in previous weeks. But yeah, that Kia Forum show feels like a pretty big deal. And this being one of the co-mains and that women's tag match, I think you can build a pretty big show around both those events. And, then if you do a Malachi Black and Eddie Kingston match, something like that, or Eddie Kingston, I don't know what Santana's timeline back. It still feels a little early for him to come back from that ACL injury he suffered. But, if it was Kingston, Santana, Ortiz versus House of Black, I think that's also a great match you could build to a big show at the Forum. Yeah, we'll see. I think the sort of undercard stuff has been booked pretty well in AEW, and getting to certain points like that, I think we're going well, and that Kia Forum show should be pretty good there. So the only other match that's on the docket for sure tonight is Ruby Soho taking on Ty Mello, and when Soho came back, this was set in motion immediately. Good response, obviously, as always, for Soho. And I think an obvious win for her tonight, unless she is screwed over by Anna Jay and members of the JAS, which has kind of been Ruby's character, to lose matches that you think, oh yeah, and is on. What's the Jericho match? Can you put that in the comment? I don't have that on my screen, so that would help. But anyway, I'll go back. So Ruby's whole run in AEW has been kind of being right there and oh yeah, she should probably win this, and be kind of what Tony Storm's booking was, where you come in and you're the champion, and whether it works or not, you kind of go with them for a period of time. And Ruby never kind of got that. Obviously got injured too, but getting into the finals against Jade in that TBS tournament, or losing during the semis. I don't. It was one of the two, but and then just kind of getting there, losing to Britt, and losing these big matches. You would think that this would be her time on coming back to win a big match, and be in that upper middle card of the babyface women's division. But like her character has been, is it worth it to Tony Khan to kind of deflate that comeback and that pop to get Ty Mello and Anna Jay over and get their heel heat. I don't think so personally, but I think I would put it at a 50-50 chance, even though it sounds crazy, because someone coming back from injury, getting a big pop, coming in their first match, you have them win is the easiest thing to do, and then build them to be an opponent for who's currently still a heel, Jamie Hayter. All that sort of works out to build her up, and we'll see. But Jericho in action. Okay, thank you, Hazan. So we'll talk about that last here. But yeah, that's kind of where I am on that. I think you could build Ruby with a match here tonight to be be Jamie Hayter's first title defense in a fairly, we kind of know what's going to happen there, but it's at least a match where you can build her up as a viable competitor like we've done with Ricky Starks here. So, yeah, and then we have Jericho in action. So we'll see, obviously fresh off his defeat to Claudio at the ROH pay-per-view. So wanting to reestablish himself. We'll see if he talks about that or not. Obviously no more JAS versus BCC. So no Yuta, no Moxley, no Danielson. So who is his next target? And he's worked with a lot of people in the company. So I'm curious what this is. It's not your Orange Cassidy's, it's not your Eddie Kingston's. I think him and Ricky Starks would be an interesting program after Ricky's loss to kind of rebuild him back up. Obviously, you're not going to do that tonight. So does he just get a win against, a lower card person? Does a Matt Seidel come in out of nowhere and get beat? Something like that. But that's what Jericho, I think, is best uses at the moment is, controlling a bunch of stooges basically. And, getting younger talent over from time to time. And he's done that. I'm not saying he hasn't done that. I think he's been used really well. So that's kind of where I see it going from here, but we'll see him tonight. I think more of a talking segment maybe, because obviously we don't have MJF talking. We don't have Starks talking, unless Christian and Luchasaurus come out and do a longer promo. Jericho is another person that can go out there and do a long promo. And obviously, the show from the 5 matches booked, you kind of need a talking segment in there to fill that 6th match position. So that's usually the 8:30, 8:45 slot. So we will we'll see on that. But yeah, I think it should be a good show again tonight. You can catch me on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post show. I got the name right this time. And you can also check out my live report, myself and Wade Keller. We do individual reports on AEW Dynamite as the show is happening live. So you get my live opinion in the written word. And so check out that. You can also call in tonight or listen to it later to get your thoughts and opinions in the zeitgeist of wrestling and hear what Wade and I think about it. So, yeah, that's all I got for you tonight. It should be a good show. I'm excited. Wonder if Sting will show up, obviously. Sting and Darby. And then I was trying to think else. If anyone else would appear. It'd be interesting for like a reappearance of a Miro or someone like that to get in the good graces for some fans. But we'll see. I don't necessarily see that happening. So Miro, who's that? But yeah, I think tonight episode should be good. It just feels like there's something that I'm missing here that has not been advertised that should fill out some of the show. So I'm excited to see what that is. I'm excited to chat with you guys tonight about it. And thank you as always for joining me. Please check out Fireside Chat tomorrow, where Zach and I will definitely be talking Mandy Rose situation. You guys are cracking me up. The ROH Honor Club situation, and then anything coming out tonight and any other sort of WWE or big news coming from there. So yeah, until then, thank you guys for joining me as always. I always appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's an honor that you get the notification and you decide to watch me or listen to me talk for 30 minutes. So I appreciate you guys tremendously, and I will talk to you later.